Are you two out of your minds? Yes, they are very much out of their minds.
I am losing my mind.
Hi guys, Geeker64 here, and today we're talking about Animorphs. That's right, this is my 5th Animorphs video on the channel. So I have talked about Animorphs in the past. Most specifically in this video, we're going to be talking about this graphic novel. This is the 3rd graphic novel of Animorphs, just released last week. So new things from Animorphs are still releasing. A lot of people may be familiar with Animorphs. Most likely, if you clicked on this video, you already know what Animorphs is. But if you don't, Animorphs was a book series that had 64 books. When I was a kid, I was very much into Animorphs. It has stuck with me to this day. And even back then, you know, it seemed like most kids were reading Goosebumps and Harry Potter. I was definitely more into Animorphs. I've reviewed the last 2 graphic novels, so I had to review this 3rd one as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the cover here. Now, in a video I did on the Animorphs Reviews YouTube channel, I talked about the cover, and I really was not a big fan of the cover when it was released months and months ago. So I kind of poked around and did my own version, kind of tweaked the existing one a little bit and did kind of my own version just for fun. Not to say that mine is better than this one, just for fun, just to kind of see what I could do with it. And I may talk about that some more at the end of this video. But now having it in hand, I don't mind this cover actually. I think it works. I think this works. Before we open up the book and start getting into the panels, I do want to say I'm not going to criticize the story or the characters all that much. I do have some comments on them, and we'll be sharing that in this video. But those criticisms could also be levied on the original book. This is something Chris Grine and I guess Scholastic probably decided to do, which is do direct adaptions of the original books. I have my own thoughts on that. It's not the way that I would have approached it, but that is what they decided to do here. So because of that, it's not really fair to kind of criticize the character choices and the story in the book itself. So I just want to go ahead and say that, but I do have some comments as you see, as we go and open up the book and start getting into it. But I'm not going to just understand that any criticisms I have of the story and characters could also be attributed to the original book as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So in the opening pages, we see Tobias and Rachel, and they decide they want to free this female hawk that's being held in a cage by a car dealership. They're apparently shooting a commercial and are using this hawk in their commercial. This is Dealing Dan's used vehicles, and Rachel and Tobias suck. Rachel and Tobias suck in these opening pages. That's really terrible. And then here on page 6, you get a good shot of the owner. This is Dan. This is Dealing Dan of Dealing Dan's Used Vehicles. And who does this remind you of, guys? To me, this looks exactly like Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadomes.
That's right, Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
So not only are they ruining this man's commercial, Rachel morphs an elephant and just tramples all over the cars. Like, this is a small business owner, and he's just trying to shoot a commercial. And Rachel and Tobias decide to completely wreck and destroy his small business. And I'm like, wow, you all suck. Now, granted, I haven't read this book since I was a kid. So having the context of reading this as an adult, I'm like, this sucks. Like, you all suck. These kids are dumb. And not only are they dumb because how they're treating this small business owner, but they're also giving away the fact that apparently the Andalite bandits love to trample over vehicles for some reason. Is really dumb. Dumb decisions here. And this elephant trampling over the cars definitely reminded me of that scene in Jumanji where the Stampede is just crushing that car with Peter inside. But not only did Dealing Dan get his business completely destroyed here, he literally has a panel here. Better change the commercial to a going out of business sale.
In this man's whole career.
That is depressing. Like, I find that to be very sad. And you also find out later on page 21 that this guy, his insurance lapsed. So he didn't have any insurance to even have the potential to cover the damages of this, assuming he had elephant insurance.
I don't think so.
And I don't know what it is with Chris Grind, but he did this in the second book as well, with Chester, which I made a joke about Chester and people being named Chester the Cheeto.
It's not easy being cheated.
Anytime there are humans that are not Yeerks, he seems to have a tendency to make them into stereotypical redneck Southerners, and he does that here too. I mean, even Earl, who is this man with the awesome mustache here, he's wearing a red hat that says "derp," and they're like, okay, get it. And obviously, the slang is used in the graphic novel to portray the fact that these are actual Southerners, and I don't understand what the need is to make any bad guy or unscrupulous person in the Animorphs graphic novel series that's not a Yeerk into a Southerner. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It could just be a coincidence. I don't know. But I really didn't like this because this definitely felt very much like how they did it in the second book. So obviously the rest of the Animorphs find out about what Rachel and Tobias did later because, you know, they were not involved in this. And, you know, Jake is basically, he doesn't even say anything. Like he's not like, hey, that was stupid, that was dumb. I get his leadership style and him as a character is evolving. And again, it's kind of hard to criticize the story points because this is more or less a direct adaptation of that third book, but reading it, I was just like, this seems kind of off here. Marco is the voice of reason. That's right, Marco is the voice of reason here. Are you two out of your minds? Yes, they are very much out of their minds. And I don't know what it is with Jake. He's got a Z on his shirt. It's so random. Why is there a Z on Jake's shirt? Okay, here's two theories, okay? One theory, this is some kind of reference to Zero Space. It could be. Or, number two, he likes Lord Zed from Power Rangers. I have no idea.
I am Lord Zed, Emperor of all I see.
Also, I want to mention this because I think this is probably my least favorite thing about this book, okay? This is Cassie's barn, right there. It says Cassie's barn, right there, okay? You flip the page and you see them standing around in this, whatever this is. This is supposed to be the inside of Cassie's barn. This is not how the barn is described in the books. The TV show is a more accurate representation of of Cassie's barn. There should be hay bales. I've been to many barns in my life, okay? This is not a normal barn. Okay, they may be leaning more into the animal rehabilitation side of what Cassie's barn is, I guess, if that's what you want to try and explain this as. But this looks like more like something that's in the gardens. It doesn't look like Cassie's barn at all. Going back to that panel where Marco was making the most sense out of all the Animorphs, asking, are you two out of your minds? You see Marco's hairstyle has actually changed from the first book. And that's good. It differentiates him a little bit more. One of the critiques I had in the first book and partially in the second book as well, although you could see that Chris definitely made an effort to differentiate them, is that the way Chris draws humans is all very similar. Like there were panels in the first book where Cassie and Marco would be talking and in between panels, and it was hard to tell who was actually talking. And the same thing with Tobias and Rachel. They both had blonde hair. There was very minor differences between the two of them in the way that they were drawn. So it was very hard to see who was talking, so you had to do a lot of double takes. With what Chris Grind has obviously done here in the third book is, you know, he's continued to differentiate Marco and make him look different. So I do like that. I like that there's a concerted effort to kind of make them look different.
This was supposed to be a year-free day.
Stay tuned for more Animorphs right here, only on Nickelodeon.
As I said, I'm not going to break down the characters and story here, so kind of skipping along here to page 42, you got this great wolf morph. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, one of the things Chris Grind is really great at is I love the way he draws the animals, and I love the way he portrays morphing as this kind of disgusting, you know, thing. And I love this panel right here with Cassie transforming into a wolf. So these panels kind of show how Chris Grind chose to present the conflict between Tobias the human and Tobias the hawk, you know, the hawk instincts and the hawk mind. And I do actually like this. I like the way that it's dark paneling. I like the way that the lettering is done here. I do think Chris could have chosen to do something that was a little bit more graphic novel, more visual in the way that this is represented with Tobias the Human versus Tobias the Hawk. Almost like, let's just put it this way. If I was doing this, is just my preference. Not that I dislike what was going on here, but I think with a visual medium, there's so many different things you could do, right? How I would have done it is I would have taken Tobias as a human and have him basically in a big dark void, speaking to either hawks that are flying around in the ethereal. Basically just make a Lovecraftian style abyss that Tobias is in, and most of the time he's in control of the hawk form, but when he starts to get these instincts on him, he finds himself in this abyss having these discussions with that. And there's so many cool visual things I think you could have done. You could have had him speaking to like a swarm of hawks, a big hawkeye, hawk's eye up in the sky looking down at him. So many cool things from a visual perspective I think you could have done that really would have made this stuff pop. But I don't dislike this. I just think that there was more that you could have done. Just my preference. I don't know if this is an error or not, but when I was reading, I found this to be very strange. On page 68, Tobias is talking, and he talks about the Yerks will be looking for any animals that act strangely. They're hunting for animals who can morph. They're hunting for animals who can morph. It seems kind of strange way to put that. They do think they're Andalites as far as we know. As far as they know, that's what they'd be looking for Andalites. Wouldn't that make more sense? Or they're looking for Andalites in morph? That seems to make a little bit more sense than animals who can morph. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that one thing really stuck out to me, and I was like, is that an error, or am I just like reading too much into that panel? But I don't know. I just thought it was strange.
Wow. That was weird.
I do like that we are getting the different color bubbles for the lettering here, so we know who is who when they're speaking and thought speak. I think that works really well. And of course, we do get a splash page. Now, all three books have had really solid splash pages, in my opinion. I think they've all been pretty awesome. This one also stands among them as well. I really like this splash page. I think it looks really great. This is basically Tobias. He gave in to the hawk instinct and killed a mouse. And as I said before, Chris Grine is great at drawing animals. I mean, honestly, the way he draws animals, I wouldn't change anything about it. I like it. I've liked it in all three books, and I continue to like it here in this one. And one other thing that's cool about this splash page is it's the only page where they actually removed the page numbers down in the corner. So it is a legit splash page. So I thought that was kind of cool. And another awesome morphing scene here on page 165 with Rachel morphing into the trout. Sufficiently creepy. I really like these scenes. Every single book has had great morphing panels, and this is among some of the best ones. And I really won't go any further in as far as the panels and finishing out the book. I will say that the story is not the greatest, but I did prefer this to book 2, surprisingly. I think this works way better as a graphic novel. It reads way better as a graphic novel than the second one did. Book 2 had a lot of dialogue, and it didn't really, nothing from the visual medium benefited that story. This one, with Tobias's instincts and some of the other things that happened in this book, I think that it worked a lot better. So this is my second favorite behind the first book as far as the graphic novels go. And as I said, Chris Grine does a good job of adapting the original book. I do think that they missed some missed opportunities to expand and do some newer things because it is a visual medium that I think could have improved it beyond the original source material. The character choices and some of the things that they decide to do in this book, I'm just like, I know you're inexperienced, but that's a really dumb idea. But I can't criticize the book for it. That was what was the original written, and that's what he's adapting here. So let me grab the other two books from the shelf back there, and we'll talk about all three of them.
A few moments later.
So here are all three books together. There is the first book. There's book number 2. And of course, book number 3 we talked about here. As I said, this I think is far better than the second book. I don't think the second book benefited from the visual format. I don't think it benefited from the graphic novel format. And I still like the first one the most because of the ground that's covered. I think this works the best. I'm really looking forward to book 4. Book 4 is the first Animorphs book that I ever read. That cover with Cassie morphing into a dolphin. That was the cover that I was like, I need to see what this book is. So book 4 has a special place in my heart, and I want to see it represented visually. There is a little teaser for the 4th book coming out in the back of this one, just like there was in the last couple books, a little preview of what's to come. I really hope Chris Grine and Scholastic do something to ramp up getting these books out. One a year is just not, it's not enough. It's not enough to maintain enthusiasm for the series beyond, you know, people like me and other hardcore Animorphs fans. As far as trying to get more people into Animorphs, we gotta have more than one a year, especially since you're directly adapting already established stories. So we're really just getting a new visual format and not new stories, or, you know, they could do stories that are in between the existing books where we got newer stories that happened in between books, stuff like that. I think that could have been a better way to go with the series as opposed to direct adaptions, but I certainly don't blame them for going with direct adaptions of the established books. But honestly, they really just need to do a better job of getting these out. We really need a minimum of 2 of these a year. So we'll wait and see when the 4th one's coming out. And I've mentioned it on this channel and done a couple comic book videos, although it's not one of the primary things I talk about on this channel because I don't really collect newer comic books anymore for a variety of reasons I won't really get into. But one of the things that comic book companies used to do is you would bring on additional artists to get more comic books out at a time. I don't know if that's what they need to do here, if there's somebody who can mimic Chris Grine's style, because that's kind of what you would need. They just need to do something to try and get more than one a year out. That was my complaint last year, and that's still my complaint this year. Waiting a whole year to get one book. I wish we could get them faster than that. Oh, and getting into my comparison here. So this is the original cover, and this was the cover that I designed here. So as you can see, they're both fairly similar. The changes I made were in regards to some of the colors. I like the purple because it actually matches the original book. The original The Encounter, the 3rd book in the Animorphs series, was purple, and at least in the North American release. And so I changed that to purple, and I wanted to also change the clothing a little bit because Tobias, I feel like, is more of a emo kid. He's definitely the outsider emo kid of the 90s, and primarily they would wear black. So I thought it made a little bit more sense that he would have a little bit darker clothes than what he does here. I also changed his haircut because I don't like the long yellow hair style of Tobias. That's not what I think about when I envision Tobias at all. It doesn't match the models or anything. It doesn't match the TV show either. So I kind of changed his hair to kind of look more like it does in the model of the actual original book. And obviously he's like mid-transformation into a hawk here. And because he's falling down into the eye in the original one, what I wanted to do was just add kind of some rocks there to make it look like he kind of tripped and is falling backwards as opposed to falling straight down. It just kind of changes the perspective a little bit. And also it makes the actual title pop a little bit more against the black background. So those are just some of the changes that I made to it. And again, this was just me tinkering around for fun. I just did it for fun because I thought that I was kind of disappointed with the way that it looked originally. So I just messed around and did my own thing. I'm not to say that mine is better than his. I would not say that at all. But because like I said, having it in my hand, I think it looks a lot better. I think part of the reason why it looks better in hand is it's not as bright. I think that's one of the things that definitely helps there, as well as the lining there on the hardcover. So, yeah, so that was the design that I did just for fun.
What the hell kind of fun is that?
I do have a couple Animorphs videos that I was thinking about doing. I don't know if I'll be getting around to doing. I'm really backlogged on different projects right now, but I do want to do an Animorphs collection video because I've never done that. Main reason I want to do that is because I also have some things from the memberships. There was a couple different fan clubs back in the in 99 and 2000 for Animorphs, and I've kept all of my stuff from those fan clubs, and I haven't really seen too many people talk about or show that kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of cool, and I have all 64 books. It's not a coincidence that 64 is in my name. 64 Animorphs books, guys. But other than that, what did you guys think about the third graphic novel? Did you guys like it? Where do you rank it between the three that have come out so far? Where would you put this in your ranking? And was there anything that you guys noticed that I didn't mention here? I'm sure there was a lot. I'm sure there was a lot. But anyway, I just want to thank everybody for checking out this video. Thank you, subscribers. All of you are awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm U264, and I always tell you the truth.